Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. It is Monday, the 22nd of September. This video is for educational purpose only. There's no recommendation or advice whatsoever intended. It is purely to demonstrate how I try to read the market using my experience in using charts and technical analysis. Let's see what's going on with Nasdaq 100 that made a new all-time high Friday, new all-time high close above the 161.8 projection there, above 24,593. Could push higher. What is key towards, and let's just change this trackball to a trackball, see what was really going on here. So we had a close of the RSI at 73.62, and how was that over here? That was 73.36. So it's actually cancelled its divergence. So that is indicating that we could see higher levels on Nasdaq 100. But here pre-market we are sitting back a little bit, so maybe a little bit of a correction could kick in there, because we are a bit stretched, and here we also can see how it's challenging this bullish or this horizontal line there. So really an interesting development. Let's see what's going on the S&P 500 that also closed at a new all-time high, but it didn't cancel its divergence on the RSI, actually very far from, but it broke above its falling trend line there. So there's still potential higher, but I would be very cautious, of course, if I'm taking new positions to have very tight stops. And 6,550 support there on S&P 500, close below. Well, then we could see a correction unfolding. And on the Dow Jones index, also higher there. But also, as you can see, divergence. So divergence on two indices, two of the main indices. So I will still be a little bit cautious. If we are moving back to the S&P 500, the CFD there, we can also see how much of divergence there is going on there. So be cautious a little bit, and if the CFD closes below 6,549, well, then we could be in for a correction. Moving on to the Asian markets, we have Seng that is in a correction phase after also showing divergence there. You can see it was stretched, so now it retraced at 38.2, retracement of this uptrend here. Let's see if it'll bounce in the next few days, but if it takes out the lows from this morning, then we could see it down to below 26,000, possibly down to 25,667. Nikkei, quite volatile end to last week, the Friday. I think the way it comes out of this spike up and spike down, that will be the direction. We are also stretched there, as you can see, divergence on the RSI, indicating a correction is likely. But we had this already a little bit of Friday, but now it seems to be closing a little bit higher today. So be cautious also there if you're trading the Nikkei. This is the future. If it takes out the lows from Friday, then we could see a correction down to the area around 43,000. In the European market that just opens here a little while ago, a few minutes ago, we have the EuroStoxx50 that is closed above a minor resistance there, 5,444. But then look at this, we had this like a shooting star candle there. Didn't get all the way up, it's still closed above that. But if we get a negative candle today, so that could actually mean a topper reversal, and RSI rejected at 60 threshold, but it is still in positive sentiment after closing over here. So a little bit cautious there. However, we are above all moving averages, but if we do get a negative candle, then we have a topper reversal, then I would be cautious of EuroStoxx50. We can see here the CFD is pushing lower at the moment. So a little bit of a bad sign that maybe it can't really keep up. DAX, little bit lower than Friday, so it's struggling. It's still actually in a bearish trend, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, and so on. And let's have a look at the CFD that also seems to be pushing lower. So if we're taking out 23,374, well, then we could, the downtrend has confirmed, especially if it takes out the lows here at the 23,260, then there's much more downside to it. So doesn't look too good for European stocks in general. On the FX market and euro dollar, well, yeah, it pushed higher above the 118, but now it has set back about 50% of this uptrend there, sitting back now at the 50%. I think we could see it testing at 117, the 61.8 retracement, and then I think we'll see a bounce. But again, don't rule out all the way down to the 786, where we have the 55 just above it here. Could spike down. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, so should crawl higher. And it is in a slight uptrend. So if it starts moving back above 118, then I think uptrend is likely to resume. Sterling dollar trading around the upper part of the clouds, could still dip to the 786 retracement. Not quite sure it will do that. If it bounces here, then it could crawl back towards 136. I will remove this one because it's a bit obsolete now. So 136, but that will also be a kind of range bounding here. So it's really can't make up its mind with a bullish trend or bearish trend or whatever will I do. So if it starts taking out and closing below the cloud, then I think we'll see a bearish trend unfold. But there's still positive sentiment on the RSI, but it is not really giving it much support. So be cautious of sterling dollar there. Euro sterling spiked high this morning to the previous peak there, and next one could be this peak up there. And if we add that to it, 87.68, well, then there's potential up there. We are in a positive sentiment, and we are in a bullish trend, high, 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 low, high, high. And I think we will crawl towards the 87.70 area here the next little while. But also a little bit cautious there, given that sterling dollar can't make a man, can euro sterling actually do that? But we are above all moving averages, above the cloud, so it seems like we are about to push higher. So it seems like we are going to have a weaker sterling, which is not a surprise really, given that the financial difficulties they have over there. Still range bound here on the dollar yen, despite the fact that it's spiked below there, but it couldn't really get away from it. So you can see how it's boxed in here between the 100 and the 200 moving averages. So 146.20 and around 149 up here. That is the range it really needs to take out. What I will actually do, I will adjust this a little bit. I know there's a spike up there too, but I think if it takes out 149, then and once again, then I think we will see a push up there. But I don't think it will happen any day soon. I actually favor the downside, but I need confirmation for this, so I'm not convinced that it will do that. Euro yen in a little bit of a correction mode, hovering around the previous peak here, just around 174. But as you can see, RSI values declining. So divergence, as we call it, the strength indicator doesn't really tell us that we should push higher. However, if it does close above its falling trend line there, and euro yen is taking out the Friday peak, then I think we will be looking at 175.50, possibly higher. Aussie yen in a correction phase after making a new high here, not all-time high, but a new high here. I think we could see it at least down to the 38.2 here at 96.88, possibly a little bit lower in this correction, but positive sentiment, no divergence on the RSI, indicating likely higher levels. That means we could see a bounce from the 38.2 retracement there. Sterling yen, well, retraced 61.8 and then some down to the 55 moving average. Still in a bullish trend. Positive sentiment indicating it could crawl back above 200. Let's see about that. it seems like it's really a kind of a pivot and it's just fluctuating around, and it can't really make up its mind what it really wants to do. And looking at the weekly, we don't really get much either, because you can see how significant this is. This 200 that is fluctuating around, and that sell-off there Friday was quite interesting. So we could slide lower to 198.50, 60 level. Key support 197.85. Aussie dollar correction phase, some support here at 65.60, could dip to the 61.86 at 65 and a quarter, but then I think it will bounce fairly soon. Positive sentiment on the RSI, no divergence, and we're still in a bullish trend, so it is not really over just yet. So I wouldn't be surprised to, in a couple of days, within the next few days, see a bounce somewhere either between 65.60 or 65 and a quarter. Dollar Canada, well, it's still the key support here at 137.20, kind of having a shoulder-like pattern, but that also means it needs to break the horizontal neckline here fairly soon. If it doesn't, well, then I think we'll still see it crawling higher. And the RSI is actually telling us that's what it should do, because there's positive sentiment and there is no divergence. So I think if it breaks above the falling trend line, and especially closing above 60 threshold, well, then a bullish trend has been resumed there. Sterling Canada finding some support maybe here around the 100 and the 55 moving average, just above the cloud, and it's bouncing, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it bounce a little bit further towards 187 here in the coming days. However, if it takes out the lows from this morning, well, then it could push below the cloud and down below the 185 level. EuroSwiss, once again this morning, quite volatile, probably very thin market. Spiked just below the 93.15, 20 support, key support. You will see how many times it's tried. So there's some really strong supports in this region here. Still positive sentiment on the RSI. Didn't close below 40 threshold, so maybe it should move up there to 94 and have a go at that. But let's see. It is still early days, I would say, or it's still a little bit premature to judge that. And we can see here we have like a falling trend line going on that it needs to close above. Dollar Swiss. Dollar Swiss, if it will come up here after this spinner. We'll try again. There we are. Let's read. It has retraced to 38.2 retracement, just around 79.60. Still this falling trend line here. I'll adjust it a little bit. Still could see a further bounce, but you see RSI negative sentiment. There's no divergence, indicating it could continue lower in this downtrend. You can see lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, and possibly new lower high, or will it push and reverse the trend? A close above the falling trend line could indicate that, but I think we will see a push lower here eventually. The dollar index, strong bounce also to the 38.2 retracement there, 97.45. Is that it? Could it push below? Still negative sentiment on the RSI, no divergence, indicating likely lower levels. But it is not a given. Over here we didn't have divergence, did we? Yeah, we did. And then it bounced, but it took some time. But we are also here in a bearish trend for now. But let's see if it starts crawling up above here. Then we have the 98 area and the lower part of cloud. We also have the 100 coming down, giving it a hard time, as you can see it has done other times here. So I think it will slide lower here in the coming days. Moving on to the commodities market and of course metals, and we have gold pushing to new all-time highs, just pushing higher here now. Divergence is building up, but I think, as we mentioned last week, it could, and there was in the cards higher levels. If we're looking at the weekly chart, let's see at this. Let's zoom out so better can see it. This triangle-like pattern here gave extension targets towards 37.15 and 37.35. I wouldn't be surprised to see it pushing towards 3,800, which is, first of all, 100% of the distance from the peak to the trough here, added to the breakout price, and that around 3,800, and the 786 projection if we just make just a normal projection from the peak there and up. So just in this region there, so 3,800, there is a divergence building up, but it is a fairly strong trend, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it up there. Again, it's not a given, but as long as you stay above 3,313, the bullish trend is intact. The silver also pushed higher. Oh, let's keep the wiggle chart on it, because then we can see that we are up here in the region, as I spoke about the past few days. And maybe I should zoom out so you really can see where it comes from. It comes all the way from back this peaks there. So we're already above the first one, as we can see, and there is now room up to the 44.25, and I think it will be reached and possibly also higher, because look at RSI, positive sentiment, no divergence, indicating likely higher levels, and RSI on the daily, it is very close to canceling it, and if it takes out that there, and what I will actually do, I will add just this one there, so very close to that, so very strong, and as long as we stay above 41.10, then well, we are in a bullish trend. The platinum trying to catch up here, maybe. Will it do that? Take out that peak there at 1447, 1448. Then it has resumed uptrend. The positive sentiment on the RSI is telling us that is quite likely the scenario to play out. Copper, on the other hand, well, yes, it is in this slightly rising trend here, as you can see, higher highs, high lows, high highs, and so on and so on. And if it can take out the peak there at 72.60, well, then there is room up to the 55 and 100 moving averages area, which is just around 485, 486. But it's coming down there, so we'll put a lid on it, and we have the lower part of cloud, so I think it would be a little bit of struggle to really push higher than this, and still negative sentiment on the RSI. If it takes out 452 and RSI moves back below 40 threshold, then downtrend is likely to resume. On the energy market, really not much to say about the crude oil. WTI rejected there at the 100 moving average, and I think I will actually remove this one and adjust it with, and there we need to get above at least 66 to establish a bullish trend. If it takes out 61.45, then 60 is the next key level to watch. But the bigger picture is we are basically just trading sideways. Same here on Brent crude oil, 65 key support. European nat gas, it has become a bit messy here in this range here, but reality is that it's just range bounding, maybe forming, and let's have a look. Could we be forming a triangle-like pattern? See, there we go, and let's have another one. Let's have a look at it. Could be a kind of a triangle-like pattern that it needs to break out of, that could give some direction, but 31.60 minor support, key support here at 31, minor support here, resistance here at 33.44, but key resistance here at 33.90. Those are the levels to keep an eye on if you're trading European nat gas. US nat gas tested the 286 support here and bounced from it. So that is really a key level to keep an eye on. Negative sentiment on the RSI indicating like low levels. You can also see the 55 moving average coming down there. And 320, a key resistance it needs to close above to establish a bullish trend. On the interest rates or treasury yield side, we have the US 10-year that is now trading around and a little bit above the 38.2. Retracement of this downtrend here could push higher towards 420. So that could be crucial. The next few days will slide back. And I think if it takes out 410, then well, we could be stuck down here towards 4% again. But the RSI is telling us that the bounce is still in play. and there is potential up to 420. And if we're looking at the European yields, they are all rising. Here we have the EU10, and it's opened higher this morning once again and closed higher Friday. So now we are close to this 276, which is the 786 retracement, and very close to RSI, moving back above 60 threshold. And if it does, then I think we'll see a push higher in the coming days and weeks. The UK also has bounced, not as much, but still bouncing. I think we could still crawling towards the 61.8 retracement of 475. The Japanese, well, taking out the peak there, so it is still continuing its bullish trend, and I think we'll see it pushing higher in the coming days and weeks. On the crypto scene, on the other hand, that has Bitcoin been rejected there at the 61.8 retracement on 117,930, sitting back. Key support down here 107,250. So let's have a look at it if we add Fibonacci to this and see if there are some levels that are interesting. And I will just add the where is it, the 61.8, and very close to it indeed there, and seems like we are slightly lower. Also Ethereum this morning has tested the 4,066 key support. I think it dipped maybe just a few dollars, a few pips below it did, but it's still holding on. RSI testing for the threshold. So let's see if it has another go and actually breaks below once again. Then then there are levels down here around 3,500 that could be reached. And the key support, next one is in this region around 3,354. Let's see if that actually plays out. But for now, it is at a crossroad or at the pivot point there. Real key support. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and talk to you again tomorrow.